Hello, everybody, and welcome to Event Icons live at IMEX America, day number 2. We're not going to waste your time with all of the hosts all gathering and talking about all the stuff that we saw yesterday, because we did that at the end of yesterday. So if you want to go back and take a look at that, otherwise we'll be publishing it soon on all of the fine channels that you get to watch Event Icons. So we're going to dive right into the content. We've got Chance Thompson joining me today from Salt Palace Convention Center in Salt Lake City. And you've been on the show quite a few times at this point. You're kind of our regular update on sustainability and events.
Yeah, I'm always happy to talk sustainability, as you can imagine. So.
And if I'm not mistaken, you were the recipient of a pretty nice award last night.
I won the EIC Pacesetter Award for Sustainability and Corporate Social Responsibility. So it was a fun night. It was very exciting to be able to share all the things we've done out of Salt Lake and with the EIC on the industry side as well.
Yeah, I mean, you've absolutely been a passionate advocate for all things green and sustainability in general. So not just green, but sustainability. Because as we've discussed on this show many times, that's not always the same thing. Yeah. So what's been going on since the last time we chatted? So I believe actually the last time we chatted was here last year, not counting some other conferences. I think we were at Connect and things like that.
Sure.
But I know the EIC Standards has been a big thing that's been going on.
Yeah, so this last year was the kind of the final stages of the rewrite of the old IMEX ASTM standards, and they are now the EIC Sustainable Event Standards, and they launched yesterday, actually. So they are launching as a one-year provisional period, so people will be able to certify to the new existing, or the existing version of the standards, but we will be opening a feedback mechanism for people to kind of test them, provide feedback back and say, this isn't quite right, it doesn't necessarily apply to us, how can we kind of navigate some of those things you can't really know until you put it to the test, right?
So my new thing is making sure that everybody understands. A lot of times we throw out these acronyms and we just assume, oh yeah, everybody knows what those are.
Yeah,
so you just threw out a bunch of them right there. So Apex and just for anybody who might not even know it, EIC. Let's go through all of those and just say that we know exactly what we're talking about.
So the IMEX ASTM Sustainable Event Standards were created, I think they launched in 2012, I believe, and they were created by the old Green Meetings Industry Council, Convention Industry Council as it used to be known, and they were really the first comprehensive kind of trade show certification. I think that was very specific to our meetings industry in that context. And as the Convention Industry Council eventually became the Events Industry Council, GMIC, which was the Green Meetings Industry Council, has been rolled into the Events Industry Council, and they are now taking complete ownership of the standards. So they used to be an ASTM standardized set of standards, so there was a lot of requirements they had to achieve. They were very technical language, a lot of parameters that we were kind of limited inside of. And so with the Events Industry Council now taking ownership of them, we've simplified them, we've cut them down, we've scaled them to be a little bit more approachable, and so they are now the EIC standard. And I think it's very exciting because I think it's going to be an easier process for people to go through.
I got to play a very limited role in taking a look at some of the standards that were being applied to audiovisual and production side, and it was a fascinating window into how complicated they were, but also trying to find that balance between this is something that we want people to strive for, but at the same time you do want people to actually get certified to a certain extent. So it can't be impossible.
So when we first got together about 2 years ago as the redesign group, the group set the parameters for what the rewrite and what the new version of the standards would look like. And the thing that was most important was adoptability, approachability, simplifying them, and just getting people on the bus, right? And getting them to start thinking about this stuff. And so the biggest thing that's going to help with that is, one, the language is more common, but two, and kind of more importantly, is there's now a new level structure where before there was levels 1 through 4. There still is that model, but to get level 1 in the past, you had to do everything at that level of the standard. There was no flex there. So IMEX, as an example, was achieving over 90% of the standard, and they couldn't get over the threshold on a couple of areas. And so over the course of 5 years, there were no actual event certifications underneath the old ones. We expect them now to be able to certify probably at level 2 or 3. And so it's now, the level structure is bronze, silver, gold, and platinum to be a little bit more traditional. And you can look at every single requirement and you just have to achieve 50% of them for bronze, right? So you could be really strong strong in waste, and you could be weak in procurement or whatever it might be. And so the rigor is still there. Those that will strive to get gold and platinum levels, it's going to be really hard to do that. But bronze is something that if you put some effort into it, you can do it, right? And helping with different cities have different barriers, right? Some cities don't have recycling and things. Well, okay, maybe if you're really good at event material donation, maybe you could still do it, right? Maybe there's a pathway there. So trying to pull down some of those barriers is really important.
I want to go to the donation, and I know that's been a big thing that at the Salt Palace, you guys have been doing a lot with reusing things from trade shows.
Yep.
I know when we were there last year at Connect, they just put in an art installation that was gorgeous. I mean, it's just fantastic, beautiful thing made out of it was leftover carpet.
Carpet
perhaps, right?
samples.
Yeah, leftover from a carpet show. So if you're ever at the Salt Palace, be sure and check that out and keep that in mind. What are some of the other things, though? You said there was an art installation that was being
so we have really developed a strong partnership with the Utah Arts Alliance over the last couple of years. And they were in the process of rolling out a strategy for an immersive art experience that was sustainability or sustainable oriented in some way. And so it is a walking experience with multiple rooms, and it is made from over 90% post-consumer material. And over half of that material comes from the Salt Palace. So, for example, the walls that are constructed to create the different rooms, they're all foam core signage that came from our building. There's also a bunch of like styrofoam that came from some events, ball pit balls that we had a ton of from an event, and they are making money like crazy. They have sold out routinely since March, and they've made enough money, if I remember correctly, to add 12 new full-time positions just to execute this experience. And what they're doing is they're modeling it after something called Meow Wolf, which is in Santa Fe. So it's very similar inspiration, and I think the sky is the limit for them, really. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, I just imagine all of the fun stuff, honestly, that just gets thrown away from our events that was given to somebody who's really creative and especially can think in an artistic way. All of the backdrops and signage and banners, I mean, all of that stuff.
They even used paint from the Salt Lake County paint program, and we're Salt Lake County owned. It's just so cool.
It sounds really amazing. So that's is there anything else? I want to make sure there's anything else that you guys are working there. Otherwise, I want to dive into what we're looking at for the future.
On the Salt Palace thing, the only thing I'll mention, because it's going to tie into what we'll talk about on the industry side a little bit, is we're rolling out a new brand called You Are Here. And it's inspired by an art piece that sits outside of our building that has like a location tag, right? You are here with all this stuff. People take selfies in front of it all the time. But what we've decided to do is also roll in a global impact into that and actually incorporate the Sustainable Development Goals, which is the pin that I'm wearing here. So there's 17 colors. We're rolling those goals and those colors into our Salt Lake kind of brand and experience with our staff and with our clients. And it's very exciting because, as we'll talk about here in a second with what the EIC is doing, the industry is aligning with the Sustainable Development Goals in a way that they've never done before. And I can explain what those are as well, so people kind of have context for that. So as we transition to the industry, but it's very exciting.
Yeah, bring it on. So how does that play into the larger?
Yeah, so the United Nations created something called the Sustainable Development Goals about 4 years ago. And they are a set of 17 goals that are truly defining and showing what sustainability is from a holistic approach. So it's people, planet, profit, right? So there's things like no poverty in there. There's also decent work and economic growth. And then, of course, climate and protecting, life on land and water and things like that as well. And where our industry is now tying into that is there's a very natural, actually Connect Marketplace use them a lot too in their stuff. But the Events Industry Council yesterday had a press conference to talk about their new Center for Sustainable Events. So they are partnering with MGM here in Vegas and IMEX as well. And they're rolling out what is called the Center for Sustainable Events. So it will be a digital platform, of course, with all the resources they've provided in the past, case studies and things like that. But they're also looking at new and creative ways for how to build sustainability into the industry worldwide as well, in a way that the EIC has never had quite this level of partnership and support on. So our sustainability committee will be heavily involved. But then the third piece of that is during the press conference, Miguel, who is works for the UN Climate Secretary, Secretariat was present, and he called for the industry to commit on climate action because, as he shared, we've got 10 to 12 years to really make some strong headway so we can avoid some of these global warming problems. And MGM especially was like, we are in, but the industry as a whole is now committing through the AIC membership, and this is a very kind of untapped new thing that's very exciting.
Well, there's I think sometimes we get a little overwhelmed with the bigness, right, of the potential calamities and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And,
Doomsday. Yeah, right.
But just remembering that there are so many little things that we can be doing as an industry. And it's funny, I was joking this morning about the, like, hey, we don't do straws. And I was kind of like, well, yeah, I'd like to see us do more things that not just save us money, but also like might actually cost us money. Those things that we can be proactive about as opposed to just doing those kinds of things. And there are so many little things that we can be doing.
So with one of the things I like about, and even talk about the Sustainable Development Goals, right? I say 17 goals, and a lot of people are like, what, 17 goals? Like, we just have like, So what I always tell people is that the spirit of that is to really show people what true sustainability is kind of in the bigger picture. But pick one, right? Do a food rescue program. Do a community donation program. Put your signage on cardboard-based substrates rather than styrofoam, right, which is a form of plastic. Just start small and do one thing, because what happens is when you do one thing, people kind of get like, oh, it's kind of new, it's different, and then they get excited about it, and it's like, okay, well, let's do that. And then next year we'll add another thing, right? And before long, you're seeing real tangible change. And so, you don't save the world by trying to do everything all at once. You wear yourself out. Right. I know that from personal experience, right? So you just you pick something small, start there, and really start the conversation. And you can do other things too. It doesn't have to be like materials. It could also be like one of the Sustainable Development Goals. There's a couple of them around equality. So focus really strong on your diversity and inclusion program, right? There's a lot of different ways you can approach this.
It's funny. I was literally just reading an article it wasn't related. It was actually more economic and business related. It's like a Warren Buffett's 25-5 thing, where you're supposed to write down the 25 goals of your career, and then go back and actually pick the 5 of those that are the most
ones you can actually achieve, right?
And so it's a lot kind of like, it's like, here, don't let your head explode from these 17 goals that might come along, and you as either your organization or you personally then can kind of go back and say, oh yeah, this, and do the ones that are going to be the most important to you, the most passionate to you. And then, like you say, it starts to become infectious. It starts to become something that you can build on and really go from there.
Absolutely. And you mentioned it too, things that cost money. I really do encourage people, when you do this, always think about a way to monetize it, whether it be a sponsorship, whether it be cutting costs, things like that. Because truly, if we're going to actually achieve those big, lofty, kind of scary things we're trying to do, money's got to come behind it too. And so always look for revenue, because there are places there for sure.
Or like the art installation, that if it's not you that's making money, or
somebody else
might be able to.
So we're Salt Lake County owned, so that community impact is really, really good for our business and our contract with them, right? Because it just is a natural, it's like, oh wow, not only is the event bringing in economic impact dollars, but it's also then the kind of the legacy of the events are touching a culture piece and a nonprofit locally, which is really powerful. Yeah.
Cool. So it sounds like we've got a nice push. We've got a nice base with the new standards and things like that. Is there anything else that I haven't given you an opportunity to talk about?
The only thing I'll mention, I think that the EIC is still gathering or still accepting. So they're doing their State of Sustainability survey that they do. So if you go onto the EIC website, you should be able to find that. It's just eicsustainability.org. And please fill that out. We've already gathered some responses. And one of the things that I think is really interesting to get people kind of thinking is that a lot of people were saying they didn't feel like the industry is prepared for how climate is going to impact events, right? So if you go to a coastal city or a tropical location or something, you potentially could get stuck in the middle of a storm, a hurricane, things like that. And that's pretty fresh and new and not necessarily like crazy threatening, but what if, right?
And stuff we have to start thinking about more and more often.
So what we can do is venues, destination management, convention bureaus can start working with event planners to have a plan, right? Because the other thing that does is it just creates a better crisis plan for an event anyway, right? which is really important. We have a lot of people in a place. So just something to start thinking about and talking about is start talking about crisis communication, response, how all of that would work.
I know a guy.
Really smart. Yeah.
Alex is over there smiling. So great. If people want to find out more about the Eic Standards, do you know where can we point them for that?
So eicsustainability.org. Yep. Okay. So if you go, there's a little sustainability tab. If you hover over that, it'll say Sustainable Event Standards right there, and check them out. And I should mention they are free to actually get a hold of. So people can use them as a guidebook. You don't have to certify right off the top, right? Pick a category. There's a lot of guidance and like kind of educational components to them now that didn't exist before. So they're a really, really good place to start.
Start small, work your way up. And then if they want to find out more about you or the work you're doing at Salt Palace?
Salt Palace, yeah. So at Salt Palace CC on all the social channels. I'm, of course, on LinkedIn. I will give out my email address too. I'm always welcome and open to talking and sharing resources. So Chance, CHANCE.T, as in Thompson, at saltpalace.com. Reach out anytime.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll be back in just a few moments.